The mockery in the marble hall. The Hall of Concord shimmered with crystal light, its vaulted ceiling a dome of polished starlight glass reflecting the binary suns of Calestis Prime. Cloaked in ceremonial robes of obsidian silk and bearing an expression carved from stone, Ambassador Irina Volkov of the Terran Union stood alone on the platform before the Galactic High Council. Alien eyes, reptilian, insectoid, avian, synthetic, stared down at her from marble thrones flanking the hall like ancient gods. Each counselor represented one of the core species of the Empire, a conglomerate of civilizations spanning galaxies. Irina was the lone human in the room, an evolutionary newcomer in the eyes of the Council. And she felt it, the weight of their judgment, the stifled amusement in their shifting postures. Grand Vizier Exwarvarn, whose serpentine form coiled elegantly around a throne carved of obsidian and light steel, leaned forward. His voice, a purring hiss, echoed through the chamber. Terran Union representative, you bear strange markings. Ritualistic? Decorative? Primitive? A ripple of laughter followed from several counselors. Irina didn't flinch. She let the moment settle like ash. From beneath her charcoal gray sleeve, the edge of an inked design peeked out. Jagged lines, ancient symbols, and what looked like a skeletal house on chicken legs etched in deep black, aged and crisp like it had been carved into her skin by time itself. Lord Mox of the Crithan Combine, a being of mist and crystals, chuckled through a faceless glow. Humans and their skin scrawls. Amusing. You decorate yourselves like cave dwellers. Another chuckle. Even the droids twitched with simulated amusement. Irina stepped forward. Not hurried. Not hesitant. Her boots clicked crisply against the marble floor. This, she said, lifting her sleeve to reveal more of the ink. The full form of an ancient Slavic hut, standing on bird legs, surrounded by stylized bones and forest branches, isn't decoration. It's a name. A name? Chittered Minister Dune of the Shalek, her compound eyes gleaming. You name your markings like children name dolls? No, Irina said simply. It's a warning. The laughter stopped. Not because they feared her, but because they were entertained by the absurdity. A warning? Vizier Exwarvarn smirked. If a species could be said to smirk. Do all Terrans tattoo threats on their bodies? Or are you just particularly theatrical? Irina didn't smile, but her tone softened. The name is Baba Yaga. There was a brief silence. The phrase meant nothing to them, as expected. It's from Earth mythology, she continued. A figure from old stories. A guardian of the threshold between life and death. Sometimes a witch. Sometimes a monster. Always final. Superstition, Mox scoffed. Humans and their ghosts. It is more than myth, Irina replied. It's legacy, and legacy has power. One of the newer Empire aides, a junior scribebot, blinked its photoreceptors and pulled data from the Terran Cultural Archives. Query: Baba Yaga, Terran Folklore Index. Result: Eastern European myth. Sorceress figure, highly feared, often associated with violence, judgment, and child devourment. Translation: she who rides in the mortar, wields the pestle, devours children. Minister Dune clicked her mandibles in mock horror. Terran diplomacy is creative. Irina stepped down from the platform, eyes locked on Exwarvarn's. You mock what you don't understand. That's a common trait of decaying empires. The hall hushed. Exwarvarn's smile faded. Careful, Terran. You're on Imperial ground. You came here seeking alliance, not insults. I came here to offer peace, she replied, not beg for it. One of the guards stepped forward instinctively, but Exwarvarn raised a hand. He studied her, nostrils flaring with slow breath. You speak with pride, human, he said, but your people are few. One shattered Earth, a handful of colonies. We could crush your fleets with a thought. Then it's a good thing we're not at war, she said, because if you did go to war with us, you'd learn that the stories are true. The room darkened for a moment, as if the suns outside had blinked. Exwarvarn leaned back. Dismissed. Council will deliberate. Irina gave a short bow, turned, and walked out of the hall. Her footfalls echoed behind her, unhurried, deliberate. In a long corridor outside, One of the junior Empire analysts, a young Thren scholar, caught up with her. Ambassador Volkov, he said softly. What is Baba Yaga really? A fairy tale? Irina paused. She looked at the symbol on her arm, ink black and pulsing faintly under the lights. She's what visits when arrogance invites her in, Irina whispered. And no one ever laughs when she leaves. She walked on. Behind her, deep within the Empire's data core, an alert triggered in their black archives. Classified Terran operative identifier, codename Ali Baba Yaga, status, active. Threat level, black. Shadows behind the throne. The diplomatic quarters of Galactic Prime were sterile and opulent, crafted to impress guests from across the stars. Polished marble floors, walls that shimmered like nebulae, and a view of the binary suns setting over the imperial spires. But Irina Volkov wasn't here to be impressed. The room's smart glass darkened automatically as she stepped inside. She shrugged off her overcoat, the motion revealing more of the dense black tattoo curling around her right arm like a sleeping serpent. The symbol of Baba Yaga was more than art. It was history. It was identity. Irina touched the back of her neck, just below her hairline, and whispered, "Mortar wake." A pulse of faint blue light flickered in the mirror. A hidden chip behind her spinal column synced with a dormant relay inside the room's wall. A new voice answered. Flat, synthetic, but unmistakably Terran. Link active. Secure quantum encryption online. Welcome, Agent Volkov. Open black dossier channel. Eyes only. The room dimmed further as the air shimmered. A three-dimensional tactical display bloomed in the center of the room, showing parts of Galactic Prime's infrastructure. Shadow paths, power junctions, defense nodes, surveillance blind spots. She studied it all with a professional detachment. The diplomatic mission was a cover, as it always had been. But what the Empire didn't know, what they never saw coming, was that Irina Volkov had been activated for one reason only, to probe the Empire for weakness. The tattoo was no empty symbol. It was her call sign, the Baba Yaga, a living whisper that struck fear into even the most stoic human officers. The Terran Union had many operatives, but only one Baba Yaga. Flashback, 10 years earlier, Terran Black Site, Europa Moon Base. The instructor's voice rang out in the cold. Who dares walk the woods alone? The recruits stood in silence. Only Irina stepped forward. I do, she said. He smiled grimly. And what do you bring back from the woods? Irina answered without hesitation. Whatever I want, or nothing at all, and no one follows me out. He nodded. She was chosen. That night, her skin received the ink. Lines of folklore, survival, and death. A house on chicken legs. A skull-crowned scythe. Her breathing slowed as the nano-ink fused to her nerves. The Witch of the Forest was reborn. Back in the present, the display shifted. A map of the Imperial Palace's substructures now showed red pings, hidden movement. The algorithm flagged it. Potential assassination vectors detected. Irina narrowed her eyes. So it begins. Within the hour, as predicted, the attempt came. A servant drone delivered what should have been a harmless nutrient packet. But the air filter in her room detected the nano-poison, engineered specifically for Terran biochemistry. She neutralized it calmly, then triggered the fallback protocol. From beneath her bed frame, a hidden compartment released a compressed survival case. Fiber blade, serum injector, stealth field generator, and a one-time use scrambler. Tools not meant for diplomats. Irina sat by the window afterward, staring at the cityscape of Galactic Prime. They thought she was here to negotiate, that her strength was limited to words. They didn't understand that she had survived every forest of monsters her world had ever bred. This empire was just another forest, another hut to burn. Imperial Inner Spire, Council Intelligence Wing. Spymaster Ulthrax tapped his three-fingered claw on the table. Who is she really, he asked. His analyst, a jelly-bodied amphibian named RRTOS, flicked his wrist to reveal holographic overlays of Irina's past. Officially, Irina Volkov, Earthborn, Diplomatic Corps, fluent in 9 major galactic dialects. Psychological profile, stable, strategic, cold, under pressure. Tattoo classification: unknown origin, non-religious, folklore-based. References to Baba Yaga, found in pre-expansion Terran mythology. Ulfrax leaned in, and unofficially, our RTOS hesitated. I accessed a locked Terran data cluster via an ancient relay. It triggered a self-delete, but I saw one thing before it vanished. What? A single phrase: Baba Yaga Protocol, Class Black. Only 5 such designations in Terran archives. One was used during the Siege of Titan, another during the collapse of the Vurak hegemony. Ulfrax's eyes widened. Both times entire cities disappeared. Yes, said RRTOS. And both times, no survivors ever reported seeing what happened inside. The spymaster's expression darkened. We've mocked the wrong ghost. Back in Irina's quarters, Irina opened a final encrypted file. A message from the Terran Union High Command. Voice only. Ambassador Volkov, if negotiations fail and your life is in danger, you are authorized to enact Protocol Baba Yaga. The choice is yours. She deleted the file. Her fingers brushed the tattoo on her arm. The Empire didn't understand. They saw a human, a woman, a diplomat. They didn't see the threshold guardian. They didn't hear the chicken-legged house creaking through the forest. They didn't hear the whispering bones. But they would. Very soon, fire over Galestis Prime. The sky over Galestis Prime turned the color of blood and bronze. From the highest tower of the Imperial Citadel, Grand Vizier Exwairvarn watched the Terran fleet break through the upper stratosphere like silent gods descending. There were no declarations of war, no broadcasts of intent, just the eerie, absolute silence of a coordinated arrival. 3 dreadnoughts, 9 destroyers, 2 unknown-class vessels, dark and wedge-shaped like obsidian blades. Contact Terran Command immediately, he barked. They said their fleet wouldn't arrive until next cycle. His aides scrambled to comply, but the communications array returned only static. Jamming. Directed precise. And then, the Empire's orbital defense grid, the most secure system in the galaxy, flickered, then died. Irina Volkov stood at the center of the Hall of Concord once again. This time, she wasn't summoned. She walked in unannounced, escorted by nothing but silence and the heavy echo of her boots. No guard stopped her. Most had already gone to lockdown or fled. The counselors were shouting, voices raised, arguments flying. Accusations of betrayal, of sabotage, of war. Until they saw her. She was no longer dressed in the prim uniform of a diplomat. Now, she wore a long coat of deep black, cut like a blade, with silver stitching that shimmered like stars. Her left arm was bare. The tattoo was now fully visible. A hut on chicken legs, a skeletal forest, a scythe gripped by a skeletal hand, and above it all, the Cyrillic letters glowing faintly. The hall fell silent. Exwairvarn narrowed his eyes. What have you done? Irina's voice was calm, almost bored. Activated a sleeper protocol. You dare. She raised a hand, and the chamber's lights dimmed. The floor vibrated slightly, not from movement, but from something deeper. Deactivation hums. Silent system failures. Irina spoke, her voice echoing with deliberate clarity. Centuries ago, when Earth still feared the void, we had a rule. Never let the enemy see you bleed. And never, ever, let them forget who you are. She walked slowly to the central dais. You mocked the tattoo. Thought it was ink, art, a story. She tapped it with one gloved finger. It's a key. On cue, the hall's central hollow projector activated without command. It displayed a rotating structure, the Imperial Defense Nexus, the main AI control node orbiting the capital. Then it showed the override code. Protocol, PESL, access level, Baba Yaga. The council gasped. Minister Dune hissed. That's impossible. Your species can't even breach our Tier 6 encryption. Irina smiled. We didn't hack it. We planted it. 76 years ago. Flashback images flooded the projector. An early Terran expedition posing as engineers during a cultural exchange. A technician quietly replacing a chip. A name logged into a hidden subdirectory. Mortarinpesl.exe. Why? XYR demanded. Why sabotage a peaceful alliance? Irina turned to him. Because we knew what you were. Behind the gold and marble, you're a decaying beast gnawing at weaker stars. You enslave, you expand, and eventually you would have come for Earth. But this is war, one counselor whispered. No, Irina said. This is prevention. This is memory. This is the house in the woods reminding you that the forest has its own rules. XYR Varn bared his fangs. You think a ghost story and a name will save you from what comes next. Irina stepped closer. Her eyes, cold, gray, unblinking, locked with his. You've read our history. You know what happens when humans are cornered. We burned our skies, our oceans, even our own bones to survive. What do you think we do to you? The hollow projector shifted again, showing real-time feeds. The Terran dreadnoughts now fully positioned above the capital, locked onto key planetary nodes. The unknown-class ships hadn't opened fire. They didn't need to. The Empire's defense grid had already been rewritten to obey a single voice sprint. Irina's. One of the counselors turned to her, trembling. You said you came for peace. I did, she said softly. And peace is still on the table. But it's on our terms now. A long silence followed. The weight of history settled in the chamber. Not the Empire's. Humanity's. For generations, the Galactic Empire had called Earth a backwater world. An upstart. A minor power. But they had forgotten the lesson old Earth never let go of. It's never the big bad wolf that wins in the end. It's the witch who lives in the woods. Later that night, the skies above Galactic Prime cleared. No fires, no destruction, but every planetary defense system now ran under Terran supervision. The Empire signed a new treaty the next morning. It was short, blunt, and final. 1. The Terran Union will oversee all border conflicts. 2. No Imperial force shall interfere in developing systems. 3. The Baba Yaga Protocol shall never be spoken of publicly. 4. Peace shall be maintained, not requested, enforced. When Irina left the planet, she carried no trophy. No celebration followed her. But in the council halls of the Empire, they began to tell a new whisper. Of the woman with the witch's mark. Of the forest that moved. Of the house on chicken legs that came without warning. The Baba Yaga stand alone. The shuttle broke atmosphere in total silence. No escort, no fanfare, just the cold hum of grav thrusters carrying a single figure away from the heart of an empire. Irina Volkov sat alone in the passenger hold. Her coat was folded across her lap. Her tattoo, now dimmed to its dormant state, pulsed faintly in the dark, like the echo of a story half told. She stared through the viewport, watching Galactic Prime recede into the abyss behind her. A world that had mocked her. A throne world that had feared nothing until it learned the wrong story. Not the tale of kings and crowns. The tale of the witch who outlives them all. The Baba Yaga. 2 weeks later, Terran Union High Command, Earth orbit. The command hall buzzed with low conversation as Admiral Thorne debriefed the top brass. The projection behind him displayed maps of the Galactic Empire, now redrawn with Terran advisory zones marked in bold silver. Baba Yaga Protocol was executed with 100% effectiveness. No loss of life. Full psychological supremacy established. Imperial loyalty shifts measured at 81% compliance. A general leaned forward. No shots fired. Thor nodded. None. Not a single beam discharged. Good, another replied. War is expensive. Fear is cheaper. A soft chuckle spread around the table. But Admiral Thorne didn't laugh. His gaze drifted to the side wall, where a lone file lay untouched. No one dared open it. The codename was enough to make even the most hardened tactician pause. Volkov, Irina, class, black. At the bottom, a single line was written in red. Deploy only if prepared to accept her consequences. Back in the outer rim, planet Rizik V, the edge of civilization. The town was small, barely 100 settlers. Dust storms battered its domes daily. Trade ships came once a month, if they came at all. Irina sat beneath a synthetic canvas awning, sipping black tea and staring at the horizon. Children played in the sand nearby. A local mutt lay at her feet, head on its paws, sensing the peace that clung to her like an aura. No one here called her ambassador. No one here dared speak the name Baba Yaga. To them, she was just Ira, the quiet woman who paid well, fixed generators, and always knew when a storm was coming. But inside, she knew her time here was borrowed. One evening, a boy approached her, about 10, wide eyes, wild hair. "Miss Ira?" "Yes." "Are you a witch?" She paused, smiled faintly. "What makes you say that?" He pointed at her arm, where her sleeve had slipped, revealing the edge of the chicken-legged hut. "My grandmother said that symbols from an old ghost story. From Earth. She says witches make bad people go away." Irina chuckled. "Your grandmothers sound wise. Is it true?" She bent down to his level, her voice gentle. "Sometimes, bad people don't go away on their own. Sometimes, someone has to remind them that they're not the only ones in the dark." The boy nodded solemnly, as if receiving sacred knowledge. Then he ran off, laughing. Irina leaned back again, watching the sky. Elsewhere, Imperial Archives, Shadow Record Division. Spymaster Ulthrax stood before a sealed vault. Access clearance. Eyes only. Red level. He placed his hand on the scanner. The door hissed open. Inside, a single chair, a single screen, and a locked dossier marked the Alibaba YGA Incident, Terran Psychological Warfare Triumph. He hesitated. He was not here to reopen wounds. He was here because reports were surfacing, whispers in the rim. Bandits refusing to enter forested worlds. Colonial governors reporting strange structures seen from orbit, structures shaped like huts, standing alone, vanishing without trace. In one case, an entire illegal mining colony went dark. The last transmission? A voice. Female. Calm. The woods are hungry again. Ulthrax closed the vault. The Baba Yaga had disappeared, but her story had taken root. Final entry, Irina Volkov's private log. Location, Rizik V. Encryption level, Omega Black. Date, unknown. They thought I was a weapon, a ghost in the system, a myth to awaken during nightmares. But that's not what I am. I'm the reminder that even in the stars, the old stories matter. That fear, real fear, is never about fleets or firepower. It's about the thing in the woods that you know is watching. They will keep their treaty because they believe I'm still watching, that I might return if they step out of line. Let them believe that, because maybe I will, or maybe I never left. The Baba Yaga stand alone, and the forest is infinite. Epilogue. 1 year later, unknown planet. A small-time warlord, drunk on his own power, broke the treaty. He laughed when warned, called Earth a fading power, called Irina a myth. He built a fortress deep in the jungle of a forgotten moon. One morning, his soldiers found his command tent empty. No blood, no sign of struggle, just a hut on mechanical legs standing in the clearing, and a trail of footsteps that led into the forest and vanished. He was never seen again, and in orbit above the moon, Terran satellites blinked once, then turned away. The forest had already taken care of it.